Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Thursday, May 28th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Protesters here in San Diego are condemning the death of an unarmed black man in Minnesota who died when a police officer knelt on his neck for several minutes while handcuffed. It's been a disruptive 24 hours as fires burn in Minneapolis after protesters took to the streets demanding justice for George Floyd. Police used tear gas and reportedly rubber bullets to disperse the crowds and looters. Now Minnesota's governor has activated the National Guard to respond to the violence. Sarah Seidner has more in this report that some viewers may find some images disturbing.
In the aftermath of an explosion of anger born of pain, an apology today from Minneapolis's police chief.
I'm absolutely sorry for the pain, the devastation, and the trauma that Mr. Floyd's death has left on his family, his loved one, our community here in Minneapolis, and certainly across the country and the world.
Minneapolis streets turned into a battlefield for a second night over the death of 46-year-old George Floyd. The protesters first aimed their anger at police inside the precinct responsible for the arrest. Protesters' water bottles and rocks and fireworks were met with tear gas, flashbangs, and rubber bullets.
They've been shooting me I'm talking about all day.
By nightfall, the skies lit up with fire, several buildings engulfed. Across the street from the precinct, another scene, a Target looted for hours until the inside was a smoky shell of itself. George Floyd's brother issuing a plea to protesters, but also understanding.
I want, everybody to be peaceful right now, but people are torn and hurt because they're tired of seeing black men die.
And the events leading up to his brother's death were captured for the world to see. Officer Derek Chauvin's knee pressed on Floyd's neck as he struggled to breathe. I can't breathe. At one point, the 46-year-old man in agony calls out for his mother.
Mama! Get up! Get in the car!
The city's mayor calling on the county attorney to prosecute the arresting officer.
Do you think that was murder?
I do.
You do?
I'm not a prosecutor, but let me be clear. The arresting officer killed someone.
So far, Chauvin and the 3 other fired officers have not commented on the case. Police have now released their complaint history. Only 2 officers have complaints lodged against them. Chauvin has the most with 18 complaints. He faced no discipline in 16 cases and was reprimanded for 2. Officer Tu Tao has 1 complaint still pending, 6 total lodged against him. He was sued for brutality in a 2017 case that settled out of court. Their last arrest ended in the death of a man pleading to let him breathe. The only body cam video released so far is from another department.
And that was Sarah Seidner reporting. San Diego Police Chief David Nislight expressed his condolences to George Floyd's family on Twitter. He said, quote, "Our profession must do better. We will continue to work tirelessly to build trust, establish clear policies, ensure consistent training, and maintain open and honest dialogue with our communities." Now for an update on the coronavirus in San Diego County. Today, the total number of cases topped 7,000. 117 new cases have been reported, and 5 more people have died from the virus. Meanwhile, the San Diego Blood Bank is pleading for more donations, but it's not just because supplies are running low. KPBS reporter John Carroll has the latest.
When the COVID-19 pandemic hit San Diego County, a call went out for blood donations. People responded, giving the San Diego Blood Bank a 10-day supply. That supply has now dwindled to just 2 days.
I know right now, because there haven't been any blood drives over the last couple of months, there's a critical need for blood donors.
The blood bank also wants your blood to help treat those with COVID-19, but only if you've had it yourself and have fully recovered. That means you have to have been symptom-free for at least 28 days. The blood bank is partnering with the county in obtaining as much plasma as possible.
It has been shown to be beneficial. Early anecdotal data for COVID-19 looks promising as well.
The blood of people who've had COVID-19 has antibodies in it that can potentially help people who are suffering with the illness to recover more quickly and more fully. It's believed that each plasma donation could help 3 to 4 people. There was good news today for beach lovers. The county is further relaxing restrictions. Beginning Tuesday, you can go to the beach and actually enjoy lingering on the sand, with restrictions, of course. Only family units can be together, and groups must stay at least 6 feet apart. Everyone will be required to wear facial coverings. Speaking of facial coverings, it's been weeks since the county made them mandatory for all of us if we're going to be within 6 feet of anyone anywhere that's not from our household. But over the last couple of weeks, with COVID infection rates and hospitalizations staying fairly well under control, there is deepening concern at the county that people are starting to leave the facial coverings at home. Supervisor Nathan Fletcher pleaded with people today not to let our collective guard down.
In some ways, have we become a victim of our own success, and that we had so much incredible success so early? That's not only in our public health interest, in terms of saving lives and protecting our healthcare system capacity, that is in our economic interest.
It's all, as Fletcher says, about protecting life and protecting our recovery. John Carroll, KPBS News.
New York, the epicenter of the coronavirus in the U.S., is beginning to get back to business. And major tourist attractions like Disney World and Las Vegas casinos are preparing for phased reopenings. Camila Bernal has more.
We're going to focus on the opening of New York City.
It's been the nation's epicenter of the coronavirus and has some of the strictest stay-at-home orders. But now officials are laying out plans to reopen New York City.
Based on what we know today, that will be in either the first or second week of June.
New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio says businesses in 4 categories: manufacturing, retail, construction, and wholesale that were not deemed essential can reopen in the first phase with limitations.
We think a minimum of 200,000 New Yorkers will be coming back to work, a maximum of 400,000. That's quite a range.
New York is just one piece of a very large and complicated puzzle when it comes to the country reopening. Closed since March, Disney plans to open its Florida parks in mid-July, of course with some changes like running at reduced capacity and mandatory face masks.
I think that's really going to be part of the contract of coming to Walt Disney World in any capacity. We're going to enforce that rule.
And America's other playground, Las Vegas, will begin welcoming tourists back to some of their casinos June 4th. But don't expect the Vegas shows to open anytime soon.
It will be somewhat different. Things related to crowds are not going to be available.
Camila Bernal, KPBS News.
And even as more businesses reopen across the country, more than 2 million people applied for unemployment benefits last week. Overall, nearly 41 million people put in for aid since the outbreak forced stay-at-home orders in March. The national jobless rate was 14.7% last month, the highest since the Great Depression. Many economists expect it will near 20%. Despite the pandemic, rents in San Diego keep going up, displacing thousands of low-income residents. Now, a long-anticipated report from the San Diego Housing Commission provides a possible roadmap to keep renters in their homes. Here's KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler.
City Council President Georgette Gomez unveiled the report this morning in downtown San Diego, where several market-rate development projects are currently under construction. This area acts as a microcosm for which types of housing are being built in the city, units for those on the higher end of the income spectrum. At the same time, the city is losing more affordable housing to higher rents and deregulation than it's been able to create.
If we're losing the low-cost housing that we have already built, we're just spinning our wheels.
San Diego faces a massive shortfall in units for low-income renters as rents continue to rise faster than wages. The report from the Housing Commission makes 10 recommendations for closing this gap, including using city funds to make sure that existing affordable housing doesn't become deregulated. Other proposals include formally regulating some currently affordable rental housing and adding a fee to Airbnb and other short-term rentals to fund affordable housing. Another proposal would help maintain the city's rapidly dwindling stock of single-room occupancy hotels, many of which have been torn down to make way for luxury housing. Ramla Shahid, executive director of the Partnership for the Advancement of New Americans, said that the pandemic has only stressed the need for more affordable housing in San Diego.
Because families struggle to make ends meet, and because they're forced into overcrowded situations where maybe they're even cohabitating with other families as the only way to afford shelter, these families are also disproportionately impacted and at risk for infectious diseases like COVID-19.
The report will be presented to the full City Council next week. Maxwell and Adler, KPBS News.
Former San Diego Deputy Richard Fisher is out of jail just months after being sentenced to nearly 4 years for pleading guilty to multiple assault charges. The department says Fisher received custody credits. His high-profile case involved several women who accused the deputy of groping them while on duty between 2015 and 2017. Fisher originally faced 20 felony and misdemeanor charges. President Trump is taking on Twitter and social media. Today, he signed an executive order challenging the liability protections that have served as a bedrock for unfettered speech on the internet, saying he's fed up. The move comes after Twitter applied fact checks to 2 of his tweets. The order directs the FCC and others to study whether they can place new regulations on the companies, though experts express doubts much can be done without an act of Congress. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg says his company has different policies.
I don't think that Facebook or internet platforms in general should be arbiters of truth. I think that's a kind of a dangerous line to get down to in terms of deciding what is true and what isn't. And I think political speech is one of the most sensitive parts in a democracy.
On Tuesday, Twitter added a fact-check label on 2 of the president's tweets claiming mail-in ballots would lead to voter fraud. The president accused Twitter of violating his free speech and interfering in the 2020 election.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next news hour, the presumptive Democratic nominee, Vice President Joe Biden, in his first interview since the U.S. marks 100,000 COVID deaths. That's Friday on the PBS NewsHour.
With more people going back to work, is the issue of daycare is front and center. Where are parents going to put their kids? KPBS reporter Claire Tregeser says many facilities trying to reopen are struggling with confusing and sometimes conflicting regulations.
There was plenty of times where I had to be like, I'm sorry, and mute it. And you guys, mommy's on a phone call, please. Here, have a snack. Give me like 5 minutes.
Brandy Levitt is a single mom who works for a chain of local restaurants, including Raglan Public House in Ocean Beach. While the restaurants were closed to dine-in customers, she was home with her 2 daughters. But now that they've opened up, she needs to be back at work.
People are going to have to, I don't know, hopefully families will be able to start helping each other again.
Luckily, her daughter's preschool just reopened with restrictions. Classes are limited to 6 kids. It's one of many new regulations daycares are trying to get a handle on. KPBS asked several daycare providers if they fully understand the reopening rules.
No.
Denise Vick runs the Children's Growing Center in Mission Valley.
I think I'm clear, but things are changing, obviously, week to week.
Then there are other rules Vick says she needs to make up on her own.
Even my sick policy, I just sort of decided how long I was going to keep people out.
Friends, can you guys tell me, what is that?
No. She feels like daycare is not a priority for elected officials.
And every day I'm reading stories that we need childcare to reopen our economy. to get these parents back to work. But I don't know, there seems to be a breakdown somewhere.
Of course, it's complicated. Health officials want to put strict limitations on daycares because small kids don't do a good job controlling disease, washing hands, and following social distancing rules. The worry is that kids could pass the disease between each other and then carry it back home with them. But daycares also can't have so many rules that it makes it too difficult for them to reopen. A county spokeswoman did confirm there have been no COVID-19 outbreaks at the daycares that stayed open throughout the pandemic.
For businesses to reopen up, we should be expanding the facility as well, too.
San Diego City Councilman Chris Cate is one government official who has a vested interest in daycares reopening. He has 2 young kids, including a daughter who's in a home daycare. Before the pandemic, there were potentially twice as many children who needed daycare as available daycare spots in the county, according to a survey from the YMCA. The shortage is now far worse and threatens the overall opening of the local economy.
Now that's wait staff and servers, right? And that you're potentially going to need, and they're going to, if they have kids, they're going to need daycare. You know, are they able to go now to their childcare facility and place their kid in there, or are they going to have to wait? You know, and does that mean that they have to pass on the shifts and give it to the next person? You know, there's this domino effect to some of these decisions where, you know, I'm more than anybody want to see businesses open up, but you know, there also needs to be those conversations.
He says county and state officials need a clearer message, and quickly.
But anything else is going to be needed really rather quickly in the coming days and weeks as we start to act on some of these things and expanding businesses sooner rather than later.
Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
We're getting a look at the new normal as hair salons and barbershops begin to reopen across the county. The Masterpiece Barbershop in Chula Vista is operating again. Only 3 of the 10 barbers are working at a time to maintain social distancing. Everyone's wearing masks and plastic dividers hang from the ceiling. And in South Park Salon on 30th is getting ready to open next week, but there's some confusion about the new rules. Guidance released by the state requires them to ask customers if they have been exposed to someone who is sick.
To me, it looks like we would have to turn away healthcare providers, our frontline heroes, and nobody wants to do that. If they're in healthcare profession, they're going to have probably daily contact to sick people.
And the salon owners are hoping to get some clarification on that rule before they start rebooking clients. It could be back to the track at Del Mar. The Thoroughbred Club today announced plans to start its racing season on July 10th. That's pending the approval of the California Horse Racing Board. That decision could come at the board's June 11th meeting. The track will operate without spectators for the foreseeable future. And it's been feeling a whole lot like summer this week. An excessive heat warning in the deserts is sticking around for one more day. Jeff Cornish has your forecast.
Well, I hope you're doing well out there. And those of you in the interior deserts have been steamy. A hot start to the summer season here. All week long, the heat has been persistent. Well, excessive heat warnings do continue until around 7 p.m. tomorrow. So another day of heat for us tomorrow. Low clouds are lurking at times near the coast at night into the morning hours. That marine layer is a familiar thing. The marine layer may get a little thicker for a time early next week. We'll be looking at some relief coming into the interior with a glancing blow to the big ridge of high pressure. There will be an area of low pressure that kind of takes a bite out of the big hot ridge as it clips on through the California coast in the next couple of days. But we'll look at that in a moment. Excessive heat warnings do continue through Friday from Borrego Springs to the east in the meantime, and there won't be much relief through the weekend into places like Yuma, Arizona, or points east. But there will be some relief coming into Borrego Springs. Tonight, though, we're on track for a low around 62 in El Cajon, 62 in Oceanside, 65 in the big city. And as we take a look at Friday's forecast, well, here's this area of low pressure that's going to at least suppress some of the heat for a bit. Friday and especially into Saturday for the coast of California and up into the Central Valley, parts of the San Joaquin Valley. It will stay hot across the interior, spotty storms in the southern Rockies. We're still going to be around 105 in Borrego Springs. The relief really reaches that area for those of you to the east more sufficiently on Sunday. And Saturday for that matter. So into the Saturday and Sunday time frame, you can see the cooler air prevails a little deeper inland. It'll still be hot into Arizona, but this area of low pressure off to our west will send a little bit more of an onshore breeze in, and that'll be a welcome change here after a warm time. Coastal forecast, well, we're looking at some low clouds off and on over the next few mornings. Temperatures rising back into the mid-70s. Inland areas cooling into the upper 70s and back into the low 80s early in the week. Mountainous areas dipping into the upper 60s a couple of times, even Monday, Tuesday, mid to upper 60s. That looks pretty good. And the big time heat will be squelched for a little while. 105 Friday, still hot Friday, but 99 in the deserts on Saturday. Welcome change and closer to 100 into Tuesday. I'm meteorologist Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
Tomorrow, CVS Health will open 7 drive-through COVID-19 testing sites in the North County. They're in Rancho Penasquitos, Carlsbad, Vista, as well as 2 locations in Oceanside and San Marcos. 7 other testing sites across the county opened last week. You have to register in advance at cvs.com. Patients will use self-swab tests in their car, which will then be sent to a third-party lab, and then results take about 3 days. Just how prepared was the city of San Marcos for the national emergency caused by the coronavirus? In today's community check-in, I talked with Mayor of San Marcos, Rebecca Jones. She talked about the city's response to help local businesses shut down by public health orders, as well as how the city council plans to handle budget shortfalls in the near future. Mayor, thank you for joining me. Over the years, San Marcos has become a bustling city with franchises and small businesses. How have they weathered this storm, and how has San Marcos been able to provide a lifeline to them?
I think we have done an excellent job, and people that were on the council far before I was, and that was making sure that we saved money. And so walking into this COVID-19 situation, having a reserve of 40% of our budget, which was over 80 million, and now we've pared that down to about 75 million. You know, I think it's been very helpful for us because we were, I believe we were the first city, possibly the city of San Diego was the same week, but we offered, and just to give you an idea of how much money it is, so we set aside $3 million for short-term loans for our businesses, small businesses that could apply up to $50,000. And so, you know, seeing people pivot and figure out how to evolve in this, and, you know, with our help, it's been great that to watch these businesses continue to move on and plod forward. I think there is, you know, this whole sense of community that is now being created. And I'm just so proud that over 110 businesses, we were able to help with that $3 million.
What would you say has been maybe the silver lining here in terms of what San Marcos has learned to work and live with during these times?
Wow, that's a tough question. I would say probably, you know, we've always had a very entrepreneurial look at business and that sort of thing. We are a charter city. We still have a lot of businesses that are looking at the city. We have North City that is growing into finally our downtown, because if you drive through our city, we've never really had a defined downtown. That is still working. We have a Kaiser Hospital that's going to be built here, 206 beds. So we have a lot of things that are happening. And that is, I think, us continuing to invest in our economic development efforts and really seizing opportunities as they're coming along today during all of this, and not stopping and closing up shop, and really trying to look at opportunities and having, you know, like I said, the $3 million set aside for our small businesses. It's really been us able to, you know, being able to, you know, pivot in times like this, and really being prepared. And that is, you know, us being fiscally responsible, I think.
Can you tell us where San Marcos is ending its fiscal year?
I think a lot remains to be seen. We will be okay, but we are going to be talking about cuts on pay. I think we should be the first ones to take a 10% pay cut, because it's important for us to show our employees that we are all in this together. And I don't want to be one of those mayors that says, yeah, that's good for everyone else. I think leadership is about setting the stage, showing that you're willing to do the same thing. And mind you, we don't make very much as a city council, right around $12,000 a year. However, I think it's important that we did take that first step. So we did discuss it, and no one was disagreeing with that. So that will be happening. But there will be some hiring freezes and discussion of pay cuts. We still are trying to be flexible, and there's a lot that we don't know. So flexibility is honestly the name of COVID-19. And again, being very rational in all of your thoughts, not hasty, but also not too slow on your decisions. And that's really what we're looking at here.
And KPBS is tracking COVID-19 cases by neighborhood. Right now, zip codes in Otay Mesa, Chula Vista, and National City are at the top of the list. For a closer look at your area, go to kpbs.org. An update now on the coronavirus in San Diego County. 5 more people have died from the virus, and 117 new cases have been reported. Today, the San Diego Blood Bank urged people to donate blood. They're also looking for those who've recovered from COVID-19 to donate plasma. And the county announced more relaxed beach rules will take effect on June 2nd, allowing families to lounge on the sand. Mayor Kevin Faulconer encouraged everyone to keep following the rules, though, saying San Diego is setting an example for the rest of the state. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.